Hello, we will be talking about the PHP password hash function today. Why is it important to hash your passwords? Well, storing unencrypted passwords is a huge security risk for any company and any website in general. Ensuring that you have good hashing algorithm is vital to keeping the privacy of your users' passwords, and just is better to store data like a password in an encrypted format rather than an unencrypted plain text format. And this protects you and your end users in the event of a breach if your website was hacked and they were able to download data off of your database. Instead of having plain text passwords, those passwords would be hashed in an encrypted method that is illegible unless that encryption method had been cracked before. So it's super important that we hash our passwords because it allows us to keep it in a much stronger format and less likely to be used again. There was an old way called crypt. This was an old function. It is no longer used because it uses unsecure encryption methods like MD5 and SHA-1, which have been cracked before and are considered not secure. Also, with the crypt method, you usually had to salt your password, which meant you had to basically merge two different strings together. So you had your password that your end user entered, and then you created this extra string that was added to that before it was encrypted. And then, again, it just uses a weak hash that could be decrypted if it was used. The new the password hash function, which is the new one, as a PHP 5.5, and it's a lot more simpler to use. All you have to do is pass the password in as a plain text, and then it does the rest for you. It uses much better encryption methods, and you can specify, but there's not a real need to, because it is using higher security encryption methods. This is fairly easy to implement into your code. One line, if you already have everything built for the password, all you need to do is just pass that password in as a parameter into the password hash function. And then the second parameter is password default, which is the default settings. If you want to change the encryption method, etc., what other options you can, you could also change that secondary parameter. And you just store it into a hash, a variable, whatever you want to call it. I call this one hash. In our website, if we go to this, our Acme website, and we fill out a form to register a new user, I've already created a password here that follows this format, and you can see that I'm using a regular, just generic test account. If I click register, it'll say thanks for registering, yada yada yada. And if we go into my table, you can see that instead of my 8-character password, it actually created this super long string of text that is unique to that password, as long as that password has not been used somewhere else. So you can see that it's illegible unless you were able to somehow crack this encryption method. It would never be legible to another user. And I will show you the code here. Like I said, it's very simple. You can see I already implemented getting the password string from the website. And then we just check. This is just checking to make sure it meets the complexity requirements. And then down here you can see that all I did was pass that client password to the password hash function with the password default, and it created a hash password for me. And then I sent it to the register client function, which inserted it into my database.